welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And this is a big episode because it is Martian Manhunter versus Vision. Two B-plus listers, if I may say so myself.
B-plus.
A-minus listers in their respective universes.
Yeah, and some of the most powerful in their respective universes as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They both have similar power sets, and it'll be a lot of fun to talk about who would win in a fight between them.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I've always wanted to know who would win in a fight. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Martian Manhunter. The guy can basically do anything. It's going to be a really hard fight for you.
He is a cheater character, I will say that, and I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, been looking forward to this fight for a long time. Look forward to that later on this episode. But before we get into the duel, we're going to get into the comic book movie news from the past week,
which is super light.
This is probably the lightest news week we've ever had since we started this podcast, and that includes like those weeks leading up to Comic-Con when like the studios don't release anything.
Right. No DC news.
No DC news. We really only have one item to talk about, and that's the first official trailer for Iron Fist Season 2, which drops in a few weeks.
Yeah, they released quite a few teasers, like 2 or 3, but this is the first official trailer.
Right.
And just a heads up that this Thursday, we will be releasing a bonus episode on our Patreon account, which you can visit at patreon.com/dynamicduel, where we'll draw up a quick animatic revealing who would win in a fight between RoboCop and Terminator.
Now, we use the same Monte Carlo system for those quick draw bonus episodes that we use for our regular duel episodes, where we take the character stats and run 1,000 battle simulations to determine who the real victor would be. So yeah, look forward to that this Thursday, the 23rd.
And if you visit our Patreon, you'll notice that we have a goal going right now to reach 25 patrons, at which point we will start mailing out printed versions of our no prize illustrations that we award weekly to those who gave our favorite answers to our question of the week.
Right. And speaking of no prizes,
it's no prize time.
So for those who don't know what a no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out to fans up until about the 90s who would point out typo issues with their comics. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, it's a digital award that we post to social media that we personally draw for those we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week, and hopefully soon to be printed version. Last week's question of the week was, what Marvel content do you hope to see on Disney's upcoming streaming app? And this is probably a question that many of you didn't think about, or maybe that it was just a bad question because we only actually got one response this time.
Right.
Yeah, usually we would give you guys crap for that, but I think it was just a poor question on our part. So there are no honorable mentions, but
we do have a winner, and that winner is Dan Baker, who most wants to see a series that focuses on the histories and backstories of characters who may not get their own film within the MCU.
Yeah, and I thought that was a great answer. Characters like, say, War Machine, they may not ever get their own solo film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Or maybe even like Okoye or something.
Or like Hawkeye or somebody like that.
Yeah.
So like what Marvel used to do back in the 70s, I think through the 90s, they used to have series like Marvel Spotlight or Marvel Comics Presents. And basically, those would just be like anthology series where there's no overarching narrative, but every couple of issues would be dedicated to a specific character that didn't necessarily have their own title at the time.
I think DC had something like that as well.
Oh, yeah? So you would have books like Marvel Presents Colossus, and, you would have a couple of issues about the character of Colossus. Or Hawkeye or somebody like that. So I think that would be really cool. I mean, I don't know if the actors would actually be up for it, but if we're wishing, then we may as well wish big, right?
Yeah. And it could be like the histories of the characters. So you would see them as like children. It would be almost like a young Indiana Jones kind of thing, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be fantastic content for the fans, for Disney to put up on their streaming service. And as a Marvel fan, that is something that I would definitely purchase that streaming service for, that type of content.
Yeah, we still don't know if they're going to do original content, but if they did, that would definitely be pretty cool.
Yeah. Personally, my answer for this would be comics. Like, I would love it if they were to somehow merge my Marvel Unlimited account with the Disney streaming app, kind of like what DC Universe is doing.
Yeah.
Where they have comics and video content on their app, but I don't think that'll happen. So, damn.
Sucks to be a Marvel fan.
Screw you, buddy. So, congratulations again to Dan Baker for winning this week's No Prize. If you want to win the No Prize, go ahead and listen later on this episode. We will be giving another question of the week.
On to the news.
So Iron Fist Season 2 had their first full-length trailer finally released. We've gotten quite a few teasers that have each been like under a minute long.
Yeah.
But, this is that first substantial preview that we've gotten of the series, which actually goes to Netflix in just a few weeks on September 7th. So it's kind of late in the game, it seems, to be getting the first full-length trailer just a few weeks out. But for the most part, I thought it was a pretty good trailer. It's definitely the best bit of marketing that the show has had so far, despite a few lines that kind of make me
cringe.
They make me face palm a little bit. But it's cool that it starts out with Danny wearing some kind of costume. He's wearing a mask basically over his face. It's his typical green hoodie, but it has a yellow sash that he's wearing over the bottom half of his face.
Which is fine. It's more of a ninja look than his Iron Fist look. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's on the wrong half of your face, dude. You want to flip that around.
Right.
But it doesn't look bad.
Do you think that this is going to be the version of the Iron Fist costume that we get in this Netflix world?
No, I'm still hoping we get like some kind of Bruce Lee style tracksuit, personally.
Yeah, well, that's what he was wearing at the end of the Defenders show. And later on in this trailer, we see him wearing the traditional Iron Fist outfit with the mask as a bandana on the top half of his face.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we're ever going to get a version of that.
Honestly, it looks kind of silly.
It's cheap material in those flashbacks and everything like that. It looks kind of dopey on their face because there's no way in hell they would be able to see anything. But I would have to imagine that the costume designers for these shows would be able to afford something that looked a little bit better on the face.
Yeah, typically cowls, these live-action costume superhero cowls, aren't just cloth. They're sculpted,
Right, exactly. And if we do get it like a final version of the Iron Fist costume for Danny Rand, near the end of this series or whatever, hopefully that's what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, like, Daredevil sort of had it in Daredevil Season 1.
Right. Something like that for Iron Fist, where it was just kind of like this, almost like a helmet type thing that they...
Well, no, I'm talking about Daredevil's just black mask before he got his costume.
Oh, yes.
A cloth kind of thing with ties in the back.
Right. Yeah, that didn't look too bad.
It didn't look bad on him at all.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that if this mask that Danny's wearing on the bottom half of his face at the beginning of this trailer is the version of the final costume, I'd only be 60% pissed.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than what, he's been wearing thus far.
Yeah.
But eventually, hopefully, we get something accurate to the comics and something cool looking and not dorky looking. One of the things that really impressed me with this trailer is the action.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed that as well.
One of the biggest detriments to season 1 was the lack of choreography. I guess there was choreography, but it just wasn't well executed. This one looks like there's going to be a lot of action, a lot of actually really quick choreography.
I hope they got like the choreographers from Daredevil, because that action is still some of the best.
Oh yeah, that's some of the best action we've ever seen on screen.
Yeah.
So we see Danny use the Iron Fist on the ground against a bunch of thugs. We see him use it several times during this scene throughout the course of this trailer, where he punches a semi with his Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Then he punches the ground. It just looks like a really cool scene. So right after that, he's talking with Colleen, and we get one of the worst lines I've ever heard out of Iron Fist's mouth, which is,
"I didn't ask for the Iron Fist." It's like, yes, you did. What are you talking about?
It's like going to the store to buy a gallon of milk. Then you buy the milk, you take it home, and then you're like, "I didn't ask for this milk." Okay? It's like, yeah, you did, because you kind of went and you sought it and you obtained it.
You entered the competition to obtain it.
Yeah, and you used it. So
yeah.
This is just a horrible line. I'm hoping that maybe it might be kind of like a marketing line as opposed to an actual line that's used in the show.
But it's so cliche. It falls along the lines of like we didn't sign up for this shit.
What is it about Danny, or at least maybe it's just Finn Jones' portrayal of the character of Danny, but there's really something unlikable about him.
He's really whiny.
Yeah.
And he's supposed, I imagine the Iron Fist is supposed to be much more mature than he plays him.
Right. Yeah, he's a little immature, he's a little whiny, he's a little entitled. He's whining about so much in his life, even though he's a billionaire.
"I'm a billionaire superhero. I didn't ask for this."
He seems to have a lot going for him,
Right.
He's a good-looking dude. He has a really hot girlfriend. He has superpowers, but he always finds a reason to complain. So it's just, I don't know. I kind of want to see him be more of a badass and less of a brat.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible line. I remember in the last season, his ability to use the Iron Fist was kind of inconsistent.
He's always found a way for it to be blocked somehow.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my chi is fucked up.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
But it was just so arbitrary. In this trailer alone, I think he used the Iron Fist like 10, 12 times.
Yeah, more than he used it in season 1 in its entirety.
Exactly. So at least he seems to be growing as a superhero, being able to control his powers a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We see Davos return, and he's talking shit. And it looks like, so we get flashbacks of them fighting for the right to challenge Xiao, the Undying Dragon, for the Iron Fist. And Davos comes in, and it looks like he takes the power from Danny. And we see a really cool serpent tattoo on his back. Of course, if you're fans of the comics, you know that Davos becomes the Steel Serpent, who has powers similar to Danny. It's an Iron Fist kind of punch, except it's called the Serpent Sting instead of the Iron Fist.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of power in it. In the comics, it's traditionally portrayed as a purple fist. But in the show, it looks like they're going with a red fist.
I wonder why.
That's a good question.
Would you have preferred a purple fist?
I think I would have, just because it would be truer to the comics, and, you know, purple is the complement to yellow.
And it could have looked cool, almost like a black light.
That would look so cool. Yeah, like a black light fist. How cool would that look? They
fucked up.
Damn it! Man, you shouldn't have said that. The fights between Davos and Danny, though, look really damn intense. Like, those two guys look like they're putting their all into their choreography.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely looks like it's going to be an interesting dynamic between the two this season. The fact that he stole the Iron Fist from Danny, or it looks like that's what he does through like his blood or something like that, is pretty interesting. I'm not sure how he got the Serpent Sting in the comics.
He got it from Crane Mother. Actually, he was the champion of the heavenly city of Kunzi instead of Kunlun during that was all in the Immortal Iron Fist series that we talked about during the Duel episode with Iron Fist versus Bane, which if you want to learn more about Iron Fist, go ahead and check that Duel episode out that we did, and it was last year sometime. That was a great episode. But the Steel Serpent in the comics, before he got the Serpent Sting, he was also able to actually drain Danny's chi through the Steel Serpent tattoo on his chest.
That's right. I think you mentioned that during that episode's bio.
Yes. Obviously, he's not going to have that particular power in this season, but the effect of drawing the chi out of Danny is something that he can do in the comics.
That's interesting. But for him to take it from Danny the way he seems to be doing, like through his blood or something, it's like really fiendish. Like, he didn't earn it. He didn't challenge the dragon. He didn't fight the dragon.
Right. Yeah.
It's messed up.
It's like stealing a paycheck from somebody who earned it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We get a brief glimpse of Typhoid Mary in this. She's fighting Danny Rand in a subway, and it's Alice Eve, who actually looks to be doing some fight choreography. I don't know like how good she actually is at the choreography, because we only get quick flashes of her fighting Danny here.
I didn't realize that was her.
Yeah, her character of Typhoid Mary doesn't look anything like she does in the comics. She just looks like a woman wearing a black hoodie. So it's pretty interesting. You know,
I thought we were going to see a lot more from her, considering the show is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, you would think that you would want to market probably the biggest star in this series, in this season.
Yeah, she's a film actress.
Yeah. I really can't wait to see more of her and see exactly how they're interpreting her character for the show. See if she will have multiple personalities, if she does have powers like pyrokinesis with Typhoid Mary or telekinesis with Bloody Mary or something like that, you know. That'd be pretty cool. We do get a quick shot of Ward and Joy Meacham. They're carrying each other after getting hurt. I really did enjoy their characters in the first season more than I thought I would.
I enjoyed Ward.
Yeah, Ward had a great arc through that first season. His relationship with his father, Harold, and everything was pretty dramatic stuff. Joy, on the other hand, she wasn't that great. Like, her whole turn at the end of season 1
made zero sense.
Makes zero sense. And I don't know if they'll be able to rationalize that within this season. But yeah, that pretty much does it. We get some other cool shots of Davos using the Serpent Sting and, you know, punching the walls down and stuff like that. It looks
punching
pretty cool.
Through bricks, and Danny's punching through trucks. That was a cool scene.
Yes. It ends with a scene of Danny and Colleen at like a restaurant eating, talking about having a date night, and all of a sudden they're kicking people's asses in the restaurant.
Yeah.
That seems kind of similar to the Defenders scene in that restaurant, which was a great scene.
Yeah, it was.
The whole episode took place in that restaurant, but hopefully this isn't such a retread of that territory. But yeah, I think that does it for the news.
Yeah, we do have a question of the week that's not really tied into the Iron Fist trailer. It's regarding James Gunn, who has sort of, I guess, officially been fired from Disney now. They've said that they're absolutely 100% not going to rehire him for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Right. There had been a lot of speculation as to whether or not he would be returning. Yeah. We got reports that, some higher-ups are on his side. But ultimately, I guess Alan Horn was the one that made the final decision to let him go. And we've been reporting on this story since, it first started around Comic-Con. So go ahead and check, the previous episodes out for our thoughts on those, which you can find out in the episode descriptions.
We've kind of said everything we wanted to say. There's nothing really new to say.
Yeah, especially now that it kind of seems to be over for him.
Yeah.
But that brings us to our question of the week.
What DC character or property would you most like to see James Gunn take on for Warner Brothers?
Right, so this is assuming now that James Gunn is going to move on to other properties outside of Marvel. We've heard reports that DC is actually interested in taking him on to direct or produce one of their projects.
Right.
So
there's also a rumor that Blumhouse wants him to create like his own horror universe for them, something like that.
That would be cool too. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
No, it wouldn't. DC, please come to DC, James Gunn.
So if he were to go to DC, again, what character or property would you like to see him tackle directorially, if that's a word? I don't think it is.
I think it is.
Okay, we'll say it is. So go ahead and post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. Now remember, this is the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's really good with like quirky, not well-known characters, and he has a great... Yeah, I was going to say he has a great sense of humor, but I really don't want to say that now. But these movies are really funny, and
he has a proven track record.
And he has a proven track record with that kind of material. So that does it for the news.
Good. Let's do this.
Yep. We're going to go ahead and get into the duel for Martian Manhunter versus Vision and find out who would win in a fight. Martian Manhunter versus Vision. As we said at the top of this episode, these are two really popular characters in their respective universes with similar power sets that we think would be a good match for each other.
Similar personalities.
Similar personalities too, yeah, definitely for sure. We're also doing this duel now because we're kind of in a lull in the superhero movie season without anything to really review. So next week's review, we're going to do a throwback to Avengers Age of Ultron, and we're going to go ahead and review that one. And featured heavily in that movie is Vision. So we think it would be fun to kind of review that movie and do a duel with these characters because they're fun characters, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep. So the way that we determine a winner on this podcast is similar to the way that the old Spike TV show Deadliest Warrior used to do it, where they took stats from each warrior and then they compiled them and ran them through a probabilistic model known as the Monte Carlo system, which basically plots the statistics along a bell curve within a standard deviation. So we take stats from the Marvel official power rankings and we extrapolate the DC stats from those measurements.
Yeah, we don't get all of our stats from the power rankings because we think there are a few more that would contribute heavily to a battle.
Right.
But most of them come from there.
Exactly.
So again, this is all math. There's no bias because we are totally biased. It has to be mathematical. There's no fan votes, no uncharacteristic feats of strength, just all stats.
Yes. So before we run the simulations, we run 1,000 of them. We like to give a breakdown of each character's history and abilities and then speculate on how we think one of these 1,000 matches will go.
Right.
Yep. So let's go ahead and get started with, I think it's my turn to go first, so we'll get started with Vision.
Cool.
Vision is a fascinating hero in his complexities and contradictions. Though he is artificial, a synthetic android, he's in many ways a perfect being that his human allies can only aspire to. He not only fights for humanity, but strives to join their ranks through experiences like love, such as for the Scarlet Witch. Yet to become human would be to become imperfect, a paradox his logical mind has yet to rationalize, leading to some of Marvel's most intriguing and philosophical stories. In 1929, a robotic scientist named Professor Phineas Horton created what he called the Horton cell, which is a synthetic duplicate of organic human cells made from plastic carbon polymers. It would serve as the foundation of his work in the creation of artificial life. In addition to the Horton cell, he created a power source called the solar gem, which, much like a solar panel, would be used to absorb solar radiation and convert it to energy to power his synthetic creations. 10 years later, at the 1939 World's Fair, Horton hoped to unveil his android that he called the Vision of Tomorrow. There was a problem with his creation, however, in that exposure to oxygen would cause the android to burst into flame. That android became known as the original Human Torch and was a legendary hero during World War II alongside Captain America and Namor the Submariner. So flash forward to decades later after the war. The robot villain known as Ultron kidnapped the aging Professor Phineas Horton and forced him to help create an android that he would use to infiltrate and destroy the Avengers. Building off a duplicate of the original Human Torch's body, Horton altered its synthetic cells to give it the ability to alter its density. Ultron also commanded that the android's brain be reprogrammed, but Horton refused, and Vision was born with the mind and memories of the original Human Torch. Ultron killed Horton for defying him and reprogrammed Vision's neural processors with the brain patterns of a deceased Avenger named Simon Williams, Wonder Man, giving him his base personality. Vision was sent out and encountered the Avengers, drawing them into Ultron's death trap. The team fought back and defeated him, afterward analyzing his body. Vision rebooted and rejected his creator's programming in much the same way Ultron rejected his own, and fought alongside the Avengers in defeating Ultron. He became a full-fledged and eventual prominent member of the team. After long, however, Vision began rebuilding Ultron in secret due to hidden back-end programming using adamantium from S.H.I.E.L.D. Ultron destroyed the Avengers Mansion, defeated the team, and escaped to plot humanity's annihilation. Iron Man hacked Vision's mind to remove the programming and determine a weakness for Ultron's now indestructible body. Despite Vision's reluctant betrayal, the Avengers forgave him and he continued being a valuable member of the team. His desire to feel and experience what it was to be human grew over time, and during the Kree-Skrull War, he and Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, expressed romantic feelings for each other. Those feelings blossomed into a relationship and eventually marriage. Through the use of Wanda's chaos magic and probability hexes, they were able to conceive twin sons, Thomas and William. A while later, Vision was abducted and dismantled by rogue agents of the US government. Henry Pym tried to rebuild him as best as he could, but Vision came out a shell of who he once was, devoid of color and emotion. His relationship with Wanda and his twins was strained, and it was revealed that the magical energy used to create their children unknowingly came from the demon Mephisto, who redrew his energy and ended their kids' existence.
Ugh.
Wanda was driven insane by the loss of her children and her husband's identity, and her memory of the twins was magically erased. She and Vision separated shortly after. Vision eventually regained his full emotions and personality, and gained a new colorful body like his original. He attempted to reconcile with Wanda, but was nearly again destroyed in the Avengers battle with Morgan Le Fay, at which point, Wanda began a romantic relationship with Wonder Man, back from the dead, whom Vision's personality was initially based off of. Not long after, however, the memory of Vision's and Wakanda's lost twins drove Scarlet Witch insane again, and she manipulated reality to bring them back. Her unstable nature resulted in a series of deadly incidents in which Vision was ripped apart and destroyed by She-Hulk, and the Avengers were disassembled. Fortunately, Vision compiled a fail-safe system to seek out new Avengers members should the team be killed in battle. This led to the formation of the Young Avengers, in which Vision's memories and operating system were uploaded to Iron Lad's armor from the future. Two members of the team, Wiccan and Speed, were revealed to be reincarnated versions of the souls of his and Wanda's children. Tony Stark rebuilt Vision during the Fear Itself storyline, and during a confrontation between he and Wanda, he tells her that he can never forgive her for the chaos she brought upon the Avengers. After the Age of Ultron storyline, Vision joined Henry Pym's Avengers AI team and began upgrading his body to be made entirely out of nanobots, each bot microscopically encoded with his schematics to make it easier to rebuild him should he ever be destroyed again. He recently was forced to purge the emotions attached to his memories to free up memory for his processing systems, and shortly after decided to take the next step in becoming human by creating his own android family, moving into the suburbs, and taking a day job in Washington, D.C. as a consultant. The human families in Vision's neighborhood found socializing with his artificial family difficult, and some even attacked them. This prejudice, combined with his family's inexperience with human interactions, led to the deaths of several neighbors, villain Grim Reaper, and the death of Vision's wife and son. He and his daughter Viv felt it best to move on, and Vision rejoined the Avengers. So that's his history. His powers, Vision's primary ability is to alter his density. He can become fully intangible, letting all physical matter and energy pass through him, and at his lowest density, become nearly invisible. Or he can become 10 times more dense than depleted uranium, fully invulnerable with enhanced strength of being able to lift over 50 tons. Though at his highest maximum density, he becomes fully immobile. In a move he calls Physical Disruption, he can phase through solid matter and rematerialize within it for effects ranging from shock to dismemberment of his enemies.
Jeez.
Through the power of his solar gem in his forehead, he can emit heat beams of solar radiation through his eyes that can melt steel. Heat vision, essentially. With his internal projector, he can produce holograms of any sort of three-dimensional images, including disguises. He can fly. His computer mind and artificial makeup grant him quicker brain function, enhanced reflexes, and enhanced hearing and vision. He has technopathic abilities, able to wirelessly interact with nearby computer systems, or physically if he needs to via his new nanobot body. He can also self-repair and reconstruct from all but the most devastating attacks. So that's Vision.
He's a pretty interesting character. He's like a Pinocchio archetype, kind of.
Yeah, like a Frankenstein Pinocchio robot. Kind of guy. He wants to be human. Yeah, that's a great analogy. And now that I think about it, they use the Pinocchio song a lot in the Avengers Age of Ultron storyline.
That's right.
In which, as we said before, Vision was a main character in that movie. So that's probably something that probably didn't pass over the heads of a lot of viewers, but interesting.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter's archetype is probably more like a mysterious outsider. He's pretty similar to Superman.
Okay.
It's like the immigrant motif, kind of.
But whereas like Superman kind of assimilated into human culture, him not so much, correct?
Yes, he sort of refuses to, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Is it because of his appearance, do you think? Because he can choose to look human if he wants to, but he chooses not to for most of the time.
Right. He definitely cherishes his Martian culture. He doesn't want to give that up.
Cool.
So Martian Manhunter's real name is John Johns, which means light of the light in the Martian language. And he was born a twin, which is a rare occurrence in Martian culture. His twin brother was named Malefic, which means darkness of the heart.
Dang.
And he believed that he was the only Martian in existence without the innate ability of telepathy. But in actuality, it was a false memory implanted in him after he was psychically stripped of his telepathy for committing a crime. John, in contrast, grew up to become a successful police officer, or as it's known on Mars, a manhunter. He married a female Martian named Ira. I think it's Mariah. And together they had a daughter named Kim. Malefic grew jealous of his brother and hateful of Martian culture in general. He engineered a virus that was telepathically transmitted and caused the afflicted to burst into flames and burn to death.
Wow.
The virus spread quickly across Martian civilization and wasn't long before Ja'an, having witnessed the traumatic deaths of his wife and daughter, became the last surviving Green Martian. Centuries later, an elderly scientist named Dr. Saul Erdel, with dreams of making contact with alien civilizations, created what he thought was a communication transmitter and probe and aimed it at Mars. What he actually created was a kind of matter transporter that sent a beam across time and space so that it teleported John into his lab only moments after he lost everything. Cradling his dead daughter, the psychologically distraught Ja'an broadcasted his anguish telepathically, which created a psychic bond with Dr. Erdel, who learned everything about Martian history in an instant. Ja'an flew into an enraged panic and destroyed Dr. Erdel's lab, including the transmitter, before passing out. Dr. Erdel moved John to his nearby mountain cabin in Colorado and buried the Martian's daughter. Through their mind link, Dr. Erdel realized John was attempting to mentally suppress his traumatic memories. So Dr. Erdel helped him fabricate a new history for him based on science fiction pulp novels about Mars, restoring John's sanity and instilling in him a sense of superheroism. Realizing their mental link could potentially undo the reprogramming they had done, Dr. Erdel faked his death, and Ja'an went out into the world, learning about Earth cultures and protecting innocents as the Martian Manhunter, whose green humanoid look was based on Dr. Erdel's idea of what a Martian should look like. Ja'an eventually became the most recognizable and revered hero in the Southern Hemisphere, But eventually, he settled back in Colorado near Denver and took up the identity of a police detective named John Jones, who had been murdered by corrupt colleagues. When he wasn't solving Denver crime cases, he was working with the Justice League, a team of which he was a founding member, and of which he has been a member of in almost each of its incarnations. One of those incarnations was known as the Justice League International, and while on that team, Jean realized Dr. Saul Erdel was still alive. Dr. Erdel had rebuilt his matter transporter and agreed to send John back to Mars, where he had a cathartic acceptance of what happened to him, his family, and his species, allowing the psychic remnants of his dead species to move on to the afterlife with the Martian god Haranmir. The original Justice League team reformed as the JLA during an event in which a vanguard of the white Martian race arrived on Earth disguised as a superhero team known as HyperClan. The warrior culture white Martian race had previously been trapped in the Martian version of the Phantom Zone, known as the Still Zone, after a bloody Martian civil war ended with their defeat and imprisonment. As the HyperClan, the White Martians attempted to discredit the JLA and take over as Earth's premier super team. However, Batman and Martian Manhunter both realized the superheroes were Martians and used their innate psychic weakness to fire to defeat them. Not too long after, Malefic appeared on Earth, disguised as the Martian Manhunter, and tried to convince the Justice League that Jean was a sociopath by kidnapping other aliens and terraforming a section of Earth to resemble Mars. Jean was able to stop Malefic and clear his name by removing the mental blocks that inhibited his telepathy, which in turn restored Malefic's psychic weakness to fire and left him helpless as a spaceship they were fighting in crashed into the sun. Jean seemingly died as well, but was able to reconstitute and regenerate his entire body from a previously severed hand. Later, Jean attempted to overcome his psychic fear and weakness to fire by making a deal with a villainess known as Scorch, who wanted his help in sorting her own confused memories and mental issues. During their meditations, they fell in love, though they also discovered the Martian psychic fear of fire was implanted in them by the Owens, who you can learn more about in my Green Lantern bio in our Green Lantern vs. Nova Duel episode. Before the Owen tampering, the Martians were fiery, highly aggressive beings known as the Burning, who were on the verge of interstellar conquest and were able to reproduce asexually through fire. Afraid of the threat the Burning possessed, the Owens re-engineered the Martians into two genetic races, the warlike Whites and the peaceful Greens, and made them psychically adverse to fire. Realizing this, removed Jean's psychic blocks to fire and unleashed the genetic memory of the Burning, which possessed Jean and turned him into a giant fiery Martian known as Furnace. Furnace was able to defeat the entire JLA, except for Plastic Man, whose inflammability and superior shape-shifting abilities helped restore the Martian Manhunter, along with several telepathic League members who helped Jean regain control mentally. While he managed to overcome his fear of fire, he remained weak to fires of psychic significance, such as flames of passion.
I don't even know what that means.
Now, villains must often impart some kind of psychic significance when they create fires, however, as Jean was killed by a fiery spear wielded by the villain Libra during the Final Crisis event. He did come back as a Black Lantern zombie during the Blackest Night storyline, but was fully resurrected by DC's Spirit of Creation, known as the Entity, in the subsequent Brightest Day event. After his rebirth, he learned of a female Martian named Decay Duraz, alive on Earth, who was also able to withstand Haranmir's curse due to her isolated imprisonment on Mars. Not having the psychic support Jean had early on, she was driven mad and was forced to repress her Martian memories, which were restored when she saw Jean resurrected. She attempted to force Jean to be her mate, but he refused to mentally bond with her due to her fractured, psychopathic mind. After she tricked him into a relationship by creating a mental illusion of his family on a healthy, repopulated Mars, the two fought, and she forced Jean to throw her into the sun.
Dang.
One of the Martian Manhunter's last acts before the New 52 reboot was to visit the elderly daughter of Dr. Saul Erdel in a retirement home disguised as her father, tucking her into bed and restoring her aged mind. In the New 52, Martian Manhunter was not a founding member of the Justice League, but he was an original member of the government-organized Justice League of America, which he was chosen for due to his power superiority to Superman. So what the heck is someone like Vision going to do with him?
Beat his ass?
Nope. That power superiority stems from his innate Martian ability to control and regenerate the submolecular structure of his very being, allowing him to change his shape, density, and visibility along the spectrum of light. This grants him powers such as super strength, super speed, enhanced senses, intangibility, and invisibility. He could also absorb mass from matter around him to increase his size. He is one of the most powerful minds in the universe, capable of interplanetary telepathy, like of everyone on the entire planet. He can read minds, control minds, restructure minds, wipe minds, and project mental illusions. He also has telekinesis, which he most often uses for flight, and as a force blast from his eyes known as Martian beams. But he could also use it to levitate, move, or freeze objects. Honestly, it's probably easier to come up with a list of powers he doesn't have.
So stupid.
But of course, he loses control over his molecular structure and goes into psychic turmoil when he is near flames of passion.
So stupid. I don't like Martian Manhunter. I know he's kind of a hodgepodge of powers. I think he's overpowered to begin with. And I think DC just never really knew what to do with him. He's a Superman clone, but he also has all the powers.
He was a Superman clone who never really had the same kind of power definition that Superman had, like when his movie came out. Martian Manhunter didn't have that. So his powers are always just kind of continually expanded upon.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. They need to simplify that stuff. Like, I think one time I wrote a letter. I don't think I ever sent it to DC, but I wanted them to just strip away Martian Manhunter's weakness to fire. But in doing so, he would just be left with the powers of telepathy and shapeshifting, I guess. I wanted him to retain his cooler, like, Martian appearance where his head's all tall like a cone head.
Yeah.
I thought that was a much cooler look for him than the bald green guy.
He's definitely embraced a little bit more of a Martian kind of cone head look more recently.
Oh yeah, I would get rid of his Martian vision too, because that's a ripoff of Superman too, and his telekinesis. So basically he would just be a telepath shapeshifter.
He doesn't have heat vision. The beams that he shoots from his eyes like aren't lasers. Like I've seen them set things on fire, but I think it's just more from like friction. He actually has no way of like projecting energy. Like he doesn't do that. So yeah, it's not heat vision.
Gotcha. All right. So now that we've gotten the histories out of the way, we're going to go ahead and speculate on how we think one of these 1,000 matches is going to go.
Right.
So the rules that we set up for this match is that the characters start about 50 yards apart, and that they don't know anything about each other than each other are threats.
Right.
That they have to destroy the other one. They are fighting in a non-environment location, or rather an environment that doesn't play any sort of role in the match itself.
Because we don't take stats for the environment.
Correct.
Because it's variable. They could be fighting in any number of locations, and one character could have a specific advantage in one location and not in another. So it's just something we don't want to account for.
Right, exactly. Like if they were fighting near a volcano, obviously
Martian Manhunter would lose.
Right. Or like in a steel factory or something. I don't know. Something with lots of fire around, he would lose. So yeah, no environment is what we say.
Yeah, and I also want to clarify that when we determine the winner, it's not based on the speculation. It's based on stats.
Right.
And honestly, I'm pretty interested to see how the speculation is going to go, because I'm not 100% convinced that Martian Manhunter's telepathy will work on Vision's synthetic brain.
Right, yeah. It's gone both ways in the comics. There have been instances where Vision's synthetic brain has been affected by psychics.
Good.
And there have been instances where he just completely no-sells a telepathic attack. So it's almost as if the writers themselves can't determine how human the Vision exactly is. Because, you know, there have been points where he's dreamt before. He feels emotional love, but it's unclear as to whether or not it's real love or it's, you know, an artificial manifestation of love, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm of the house that he is a robot. He's definitely not human, though he's, you know, comprised of Horton cells, which are made to mimic human cells. He's artificial. He can't be manipulated psychically. What's your take on it? Do you think that Vision can be affected telepathically? Does it make sense, given his artificial structure?
I think maybe he could, but it would be unlike anything Martian Manhunter has encountered before.
That's not necessarily true. I've seen instances in which Martian Manhunter has been able to interact with artificial minds.
Like Amazo.
Right, Amazo. I think he once interacted with Superman's ship as well. And I just think that's plot-induced stupidity. It doesn't make sense for an artificial mind to have psychic capacity. And so I also think it's plot-induced stupidity when Vision is able to be attacked telepathically. It just doesn't register. So personally, I would like to see none of that happen.
Yeah, I bet you would.
Huh. But what do you think?
I'm torn now. I think we both agree that it probably shouldn't happen.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's agree that a psychic cannot affect an artificial brain.
Fine.
It's not like there's an end to Martian Manhunter's abilities. He can do everything else.
Right.
You could probably forfeit his telepathic abilities against Vision for this one match.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with it because I really think that's how it would go down.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's what we're doing. And let's go ahead and get into the battle. All right.
Okay.
So they start off 50 yards apart.
Right.
Who starts the match?
Well, Martian Manhunter tries to do a telepathic scan, realizes that he can't, so then he switches to his Martian vision, getting a spectral readout of...
Martian Manhunter could do a spectral readout of things?
Yes, he could see the entire spectrum, including like X-rays and stuff like that. So he's basically looking at the inner...
He has X-ray vision just like Superman?
Yes.
Sure.
He has all the vision.
Oh my gosh.
If you can see the entire spectrum, you have X-ray vision. You have infrared vision.
That's true.
So, yeah, he essentially just sees what Vision is made of.
And, well, Vision will scan Martian Manhunter as well. He has a database of pretty much everything within his head, so usually he would be able to identify the being that he's confronting, but in this case, he wouldn't know anything about him. So.
All he would see was, a bunch of molecules just, like, swarming around each other, shape-shifting molecules, I guess.
Right, yeah. So in this case, like, his technopathic scans would be inert as well because there would be no database entry on Martian Manhunter for him to reference. So he wouldn't know his weaknesses or anything like that.
Right. Okay, so
now that they're done scanning each other, essentially,
yeah,
they pretty much know what they're dealing with in that Martian Manhunter knows he's fighting a synthetic being, and Vision knows that he's fighting some sort of alien.
Right. So let's say Martian Manhunter starts off with his Martian beams. He shoots out, similar to like Cyclops, he shoots out a beam of telepathic force.
Okay.
From his eyes towards Vision.
And Vision is going to react by going intangible, so that beam's just going to pass right through him. He's going to fly up into the air and then retaliate in kind with his own beams from his eyes, his solar radiation beams, which set Martian Manhunter's...
How did I know? How did I know?
Which set Martian Manhunter's cape on fire.
Yeah, well, guess what? Too effing bad that Vision is a robot and can't impart psychic significance into his fire creation.
So Martian Manhunter, you're saying, is not affected by actual fire anymore?
I'm gonna say he is, honestly, because I thought that was really dumb when they did that in the comics.
Well, I mean, like, you can't make stuff up. Like, have you seen him interact with fire in a significant way in the comics and not be injured?
No, I haven't. In fact, it wasn't too long after that when they established the whole, like, flames of psychic significance thing that he was actually killed by a fiery spear, as I mentioned in my bio.
Right. So it was almost like DC was calling bullshit on that whole thing anyway, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And definitely in the new 52, that's not continuity anymore. So shit. Martian Manhunter, his cape is actually part of him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
But if you just catch the cape on fire, he could shed that. And it's probably going to start, like, screaming in agony.
Gross.
As the rest of him just, like, moves away from it.
Yeah.
That's when he gets scared and he turns invisible and intangible.
Okay. So that the heat beams don't hurt him.
Well, no, not that. If he was near the flames, he wouldn't be able to do that because he would lose control over his molecular structure. But because he was moving away from them, he's doing it to hide from Vision, because now he knows that Vision could create fire. So he's essentially hiding, but he's moving closer to Vision.
Well, Vision has scans. He could see across the spectrum as well, so he'd be able to find Martian Manhunter on whatever spectrum he is visible. Also, he would be able to hear him, because he has enhanced hearing and vision senses.
Okay, so then Martian Manhunter just rushes Vision. As he turns invisible, and Vision is like, oh, where did he go? And starts scanning things. By this point, Martian Manhunter has moved behind him and just reaches his arm right through Vision with his intangibility.
Well, as Vision notices that Martian Manhunter has reached through him intangibly, Vision becomes intangible as well. So they're both intangible. So they're like slapping each other, but their hands are just going through each other.
Jeez. Okay. Honestly, I'm terrified of the solar gem right now.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so when they're doing that, Martian Manhunter stops and uses a telekinetic force push on Vision to knock him backwards.
Can you do that against an intangible being?
I don't know. I guess you can't, because earlier we tried to use the Martian Vision.
Right, and it went through him.
Right. Okay. Martian Manhunter is one of the most powerful members in DC, and I'm having trouble doing anything to this Vision guy.
Yeah. Well, it's like basically whoever turns tangible first loses. Because if Vision turns tangible, he can be broken by Martian Manhunter, and if Martian Manhunter turns tangible, he'll be blasted by solar radiation.
Right.
So I think Martian Manhunter's goal from this point would be to somehow disrupt the solar gem.
Okay, yes. So as they're fighting intangibly, Martian Manhunter reaches into Vision's head, which is intangible, and just holds his fist to there, and just freaking waits for him to turn tangible.
Can't Vision just phase away from Martian Manhunter's hand, though?
No, because Martian Manhunter just keeps up with him, just keeps his hand there around his solar gem.
Okay, let me think about this. There's no way to get out of this. This is like the weirdest stalemate of a match ever.
And it happened pretty quick, too.
It happened really quick.
We have to do something. Martian Manhunter can wait for him to turn tangible.
He can't wait longer than Vision because Martian Manhunter is a organic being who needs to consume food and water and stuff like that. So if this is a waiting game, Vision has like all day long.
Okay, so that's when Martian Manhunter just like stretches his arm to like whatever food source may be nearby and just like brings it to his mouth and just like eats in front of Vision. Like, I could fucking wait. What are you gonna do?
All right, okay, wait, actually, I think I just thought of something that Vision can do to kind of break this sort of stalemate that they have going on.
Okay.
All right, so Vision is going to go so intangible that he almost turns invisible, but he's going to project a hologram of himself fully tangible, like 10 meters away.
Uh-huh.
So Martian Manhunter's going to be like, oh, there he is. So he's going to go after him. Okay.
Okay, well, let's say the Martian Manhunter is confused. So he was like, oh shit, this guy could also duplicate himself?
Or teleport or something.
But you said he could only turn near invisible.
Not only has he turned nearly invisible through his density alteration, it's also been stated that he can use his holographic projection to turn himself completely invisible. Because he can also disguise himself too.
Okay.
Using those holograms.
So Martian Manhunter can't feel him, he can't sense him. He sees another... Okay, that's fair. That's a good move.
Thank you. So he goes over to the hologram to attack him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the hologram disappears and he's like, what just happened? And next thing you know, Vision, he's going to grab Martian Manhunter, quickly increase his density to its max, and they both slam into the ground.
Okay. Martian Manhunter, as this is happening, as he's falling, he realizes that he's going to be slammed to the ground. That's when he just kind of like morphs his body into like a liquid and like moves around, slides around Vision. So now he's the one on top, and with his extra strength and force of his flight, he's the one who shoves and slams Vision into the ground.
Okay. Well, Vision wouldn't be hurt because he's invulnerable while he's in that super dense state. So he's like in a Vision-sized hole in the ground.
Right.
Well, I don't know what Martian Manhunter would do. He'd probably just keep pounding on him. And I think Vision would probably slip into the ground where Martian Manhunter wouldn't be able to see him.
Martian Manhunter would be able to see him.
How would he be able to? Because X-ray vision, he can see through ground.
Yeah.
Vision doesn't know that, so he's phasing underground, hoping to ambush Martian Manhunter from below by phasing up through the ground and doing that physical disruption effect. So he goes right beneath Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter does see him. Vision flies up as fast as he can.
So right when Vision comes up from the ground, intangible, planning to become tangible within Martian Manhunter, Martian Manhunter sees this coming because he could see him.
Okay.
So he does that, comes up, becomes tangible, Vision. That's when Martian Manhunter shapeshifts really quickly to the side of him and rips off this partially tangible solar gem.
Okay, so...
And then hurtles it into a non-environment far away.
Distance. Okay, so you're basically essentially taking away Vision's power source at this point because the solar gem is his power source.
Right, so now he's running on low battery.
Right. Yeah, It's okay. So he's on low battery. He knows that he doesn't have much time left. Now, if you were to use his solar vision, it would deplete his power even more. So I think at this point what he's going to do is he's going to rush Martian Manhunter with incredibly dense fists and just like punch through his face.
Punch through his face?
Yeah, punch through his face.
Okay, well, Martian Manhunter can regenerate. So right when he moves his fist back, Martian Manhunter's face reforms.
There's nothing that these guys can do to each other. Although now the vision is on low battery. So even if he were to remain intangible for the rest of his battery life, eventually it would deplete.
Yeah.
You want to take it to the simulations to see who would win this?
Yes.
This is one of the this is so hard. All right, let's take it to the stats. We'll be back. All right. Did that speculation go anything like how you thought it would?
Kind of. I knew this was going to be a really hard match because they can both go intangible.
Yeah, they're both like evasive powerhouses stat-wise. Looking at the stats, they're mostly comparable. Martian Manhunter is faster and stronger by far than Vision. We did account for Martian Manhunter's weakness to fire and Vision's solar radiation beams.
And also Martian Manhunter's inability to use telepathy against Vision.
Right. You know, Martian Manhunter was slightly nerfed in these stats. Usually he wouldn't be going up against any other opponent, but I think that's what makes this such a great match, is that Vision does have those slight leg ups on Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter is, again, one of those powerful beings in the DC universe. I think if any match is a good match, it's this one, just because anyone else he would just curb stomp.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. All right, so we ran the 1,000 simulations using the Monte Carlo method, and we have come back with a winner. And I'll say that it's closer than I thought it would be. I actually thought that this might be a little bit more of a gap than it was. The winner between Martian Manhunter and Vision is... Wipe that smirk off your face.
I want to hear it.
Martian Manhunter.
Yes!
Martian Manhunter, out of 1,000 battles, he won 587 matches. Okay. Vision only won 413 of the fights.
That is closer than I thought it would be.
It is closer. I was rooting for my boy, but I wasn't sure how these stats were going to go because I know how fast and strong Martian Manhunter is, and he just has all the damn powers, and I know he's a cheater character. So I maybe went into this match knowing that Vision was going to lose, but I really wanted him to put up a good fight, and I think that he actually did better than I thought he would. He's my boy.
Are you really that surprised, though? He's like, even in the movie we're about to review, Age of Ultron, he was like one of the most powerful characters on that roster.
That's true. Yeah, he was able to lift Thor's hammer and everything like that, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, he was a total powerhouse on that team in that movie, and I really like the way they portrayed him in that movie.
Can't wait for Martian Manhunter to be in a movie.
Martian Manhunter will never be in a movie.
That's probably true.
He's too ill-defined. I guess he was in the Supergirl show, though, right?
Yeah, he's still in there.
Oh, really?
And if my Martian Manhunter movie ever gets made, we have that.
Oh, right. Yeah, if you join our Patreon, then you get access to Jonathan's movie pitch of a Martian Manhunter movie in which he breaks down the story and the cast and the director of what he thinks would be the ultimate Martian Manhunter film. So go ahead and check that out if you get a chance. That does it for this episode. As we mentioned before, in our next episode, we will be reviewing Avengers Age of Ultron, just to continue on this Vision that we're going on, because I think he's a really cool character. Look forward to that. And go ahead and visit dynamicduel.com to check out links to all of our social media sites, as well as our merch store, where we have a whole bunch of new designs for you to choose from in terms of Marvel and DC t-shirts.
Yeah, we recently updated about 90% of our designs. A lot of the stuff we have up there is actually our no prize illustrations, but I made it so that we could put it on any colored shirt that you want.
Right, because before they had to go on white backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So definitely check those out by visiting dynamicduel.com.
Yeah, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on currently, please don't forget to rate, review, share, subscribe, all the things with all of your friends and all of your family.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate the people who have reviewed us and rated us. It definitely helps spread the word, and we appreciate it as well. It sustains us. It's like my lifeblood. Yeah, thanks for everyone who does that. We'll talk to you guys in a week, and
up and away.
True believers.